Reincarnation, Isekai, bastard teachers, and trying to climb up the social ladder in your high school. We got that and more coming up on the top 10 in Japan. Hello everybody and welcome to another top 10 countdown of the best-selling light novels in Japan for the week of January 21st to 27th of 2019. Only 3 titles managed to remain on the list from last week, and we've got a brand new number 1, so let's get to the list. At number 10, with 4,923 copies sold, Volume 20 of Mushoku Tensei, Isekai, Ittara, Honki, Dasu, or as we have it in English, Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. This one is now licensed by 7 Seas for a very, very long time. I had to say it was not licensed. 7 Seas did have the manga, but they are now licensing the light novels. The first volume is coming out digitally April 4th, and then is going to be released in print in May 21st of 2019. Kicked out by his family and wandering the streets, an unemployed 34-year-old shut-in thinks he's hit rock bottom, just as he's hit and killed by a speeding truck. Truck-kun at it all over again. Awakening to find himself reborn as an infant in a world of swords and sorcery, but with the memories of his first life intact, Rudius Greyrat is determined not to repeat his past mistakes. He's going to make the most of this reincarnation as he sets off on the adventure of a second lifetime. Now, I know a lot of people are really excited about this one coming out finally in English. I've heard from a lot of people that are like, this is like the prototype for the whole reincarnation isekai type series. This is sort of the... well, I don't know. I've heard from some people who don't really like it, and other people that are like, this is like sort of the standard that others should be judged by. I'm interested to definitely check it out. I mean, it has been running for quite some time, 20 volumes in Japan, and what I understand is quite different about this one is that unlike a lot of reincarnation isekais, which basically have the character as a baby, maybe a little bit while they're growing up, and then boom, they're like 18, and the entire series takes place while they're 18. As far as I understand, this one kind of follows the main character as he ages. So it's not like just sort of like, oh, I was reincarnated. Hey, now I'm 18, and here's my adventures. As far as I know, it kind of follows his life progression as he goes along, which could be kind of cool and definitely I think would be very interesting to see in terms of a character journey, because like I said, we don't really see a lot of characters actually age and go through a bunch of different life stages. It's usually just, you know, I'm a teenager and I just grow a bit as a person. So, gonna definitely be checking this one out when it releases finally in English. At number 9, with 5,228 copies sold, one of the 3 survivors from last week, and that is Yakusoku no Neverland, Mama-tachi no Tsuisoukyoku, or The Promised Neverland, Mama's Reflection Song. As stated previously, because this one's been on the list for a couple of weeks now, we do not have the license for the light novels based on The Promised Neverland. We do have the manga, which of course is the source material for the story, and there is currently an anime airing based on the manga. This one about a bunch of kids. Emma, Norman, and Ray are the brightest of the kids at the Gracefield House Orphanage, and under the care of the woman they refer to as Mom, all the kids have enjoyed a comfortable life. Good food, clean clothes, and the perfect environment to learn. What more could an orphan ask for? One day, though, Emma and Norman uncover the dark truth of the outside world they are forbidden from seeing. And as I understand it, these light novels, this is the second light novel based on the series. I believe the light novels are kind of focusing on other characters sort of removed from the main storyline. So I believe like the first one was actually sort of a retrospective. It was a character sort of older and then sort of retrospectively looking at some of the things that happened in the series. I'm not sure if this is the same type of idea. Again, there hasn't been a lot of information on these light novels, probably because they haven't been licensed, and they really are relatively new, so there hasn't been a lot of information sort of that's gone through the English community. I'm sure the anime seems to be getting quite a bit of hype, and a lot of people saying how cool it is. I know a lot of people big fans of the manga, so I wouldn't be surprised if we find out a lot more about these light novels in the coming months. At number 8, with 5,498 copies sold, volume number 11 of Danshin ni Deai wo Motomeru no wa Machigatteiru Darou ka Gaiden, Sword Oratoria. Or, as we have it in English, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon on the Side, Sword Oratoria. This one licensed for English release by Yen On. They'll be releasing Volume 8 on February 19th, so in just a couple of days, actually. It did have a 12-episode anime series which covered Volumes 1 to 4. This, of course, the spin-off series of the Danmachi main series. This one, Sword Oratoria, following Loki Familia, and sort of initially focusing on Eyes Wallenstein mainly, but definitely throughout the series has sort of shifted gears and featured other characters from Loki Familia. It has its own storyline, but at the same time it also interweaves at times with the main story, so it's not in like an entirely separate series, but definitely does have its own rewards for reading it in addition to the main series. At number 7, with 5,994 copies sold, Volume 3 of Gate Season 2, Jieitai Kanoumi nite Kaku Tatakaeri. This one, no license for the light novel series. Well, no license for Gate Season 1 or for this season of the Gate series. There was an anime, which, now, again, I'm not as familiar because there hasn't been a lot of information on sort of how the whole Gate light novels worked, because if I recall reading, at one point they were released as thicker volumes, and then when they thought it would appeal more to light novel fans, they divided the volumes into thinner volumes, I think. I think that's what I had read somewhere. One thing I read was that there's 10 volumes of Gate Season 1. The anime covered volumes 1 to 5. As far as I understand it, that's the main story of Season 1, and the other remaining volumes are just kind of like side stories and stories that were going on at the same time during that first 5 volumes. Season 2 shifts gears. I do believe that it is a sequel because we do actually have one of the main characters, Itami. He's actually sent to the Japanese Maritime Defense Force to sort of guide them as they start to explore. This series is kind of like an isekai, reverse isekai. I don't even know what the hell you would call this series. In any case, a gate essentially opens up in Japan that leads to another world. And initially, denizens of that world come into ours and attack us. And so the Japanese Defense Force, of course, is kind of like, well, we can't just let this stand, and so they send their own expeditionary force into the gate, into the other world, and the story mainly reflects how they become embroiled in the politics and conflicts and everything else, and how the people of the other world react to the Japanese Defense Force, particularly, you know, their advances in technology and everything else. So I really liked the anime, actually. I know it took a little bit of flack for being very, very pro-JSDF, but I guess maybe because I'm Canadian, I don't have strong feelings politically that way. I don't know, but I just liked it for the lolly death god, which I guess is pretty shallow of me, but I mean, come on, she was awesome. She was like, had a great character design, she was super cute, and she killed tons of people without remorse. I mean, how can you just sign me up for that anime? In any case, this one, of course, like I said, it's the sequel series. Only 3 volumes out so far. And like I said, as far as I know, the only thing that really sets it apart, same world. It's just that now it's following the Marine Force as opposed to the land forces that were in the first volume. At number 6, with 7,324 copies sold, Volume 3 of Ansatsusha de aru ore na status ga yosha yori mo akiraka ni tsuyoi no daka. Or, as is much easier for me to say, my status as an assassin obviously exceeds the hero's. We do not have an English license for these light novels. Oda Akira, a high school student who excels in erasing his presence, was summoned along with his classmates to another world. In this world of sword and magic, Akira and his classmates were asked to become heroes and bring down the Demon King. Having a bad feeling about the king and the princess who asked them, Akira uses his special skills to sneak into the king's library in hopes of discovering the truth. Whether to help or abandon his classmates who knew nothing, it all depended on Akira. Now, I don't know a lot about this. It's a newer series, obviously, but first of all, I kind of like the cover artwork. I think it's kind of cool, but it sort of reminded me a little bit of the magic in this other world is too far behind, in that you have multiple people summoned, and one of them is like, I think this is kind of a raw deal, and is quite powerful on their own, and is kind of like, I'm just going to do my own thing just to sort of get through all this. So initially that was kind of my thinking, but this one I guess maybe takes a slightly different bend to it, that perhaps there's something sinister behind the summoning, whereas the magic in this other world, it just was your typical isekai thing, like, please help us, we're getting our butts kicked. This one sounds like it could be a little bit darker and sort of like an alternative kind of viewpoint to this whole isekai thing. So I would be really interested in checking this out, and as long as it's decent. But in terms of the actual setup of the storyline, just based on what I'm reading the synopsis-wise, it sounds kind of cool. At number 5, with 7,772 copies sold, Volume 10 of World Teacher, Isekai Shiki Kyoiku Agent, or World Teacher, Other World Style Education and Agent. We do not have an English license for the light novels. A man who was once called the world's strongest agent ended up becoming a teacher after his retirement to train the next generation of agents. After many years of training his disciples, he is killed at the age of 60 by the ploy of a secret organization, and was reincarnated in another world with all his past memories. Though he was surprised by the magic and the strange species of that world, he adapted very fast to his condition as a newborn and took advantage of it. He acquired special magic and gained a massive amount of strength thanks to his tight discipline in order to reach his goal, resume his career as a teacher, which he left halfway through in his previous life. This is the story of a man who, based on the memories and the experiences of his previous life, became a teacher who travels through the world with his new students. So, I almost, like, when I first read this, it's an older show, but do you guys know Legend of Kung Fu? David Carradine, like, I just see this, it's just like a traveling master, basically, and kicking butt, taking names, and when he finds somebody that he thinks is worthy, he's like, hey, you want to tag along with my band of ragtag kung fu students and we'll go kick the next bad guy's butt in the next town? That's kind of the gist that I get of this story. I don't know if that's completely accurate or not, but yeah, that's kind of the idea I get. The only thing that I'm kind of curious about, and I don't know whether they'll just like leave it or whether it gets discussed at all. I would hope they kind of address it because it could be cool. Who killed him? Like when they're like this secret organization, I was kind of like, I hope this secret organization shows up like somehow in this other world or somehow plays into this other world, because that just seems like way too, I don't know, it just seems like a really big potential storyline to just leave alone. But I don't know how you'd make that work, seeing as how I guess apparently he ages from an infant. But in any case, it sounds kind of cool. It's got potential. Any of you guys check this one out? Let me know in the comments down below. At number 4, with 8,053 copies sold, volume number 4 of Rokodenashi Majutsu Koshi to Memory Records. This one, of course, was on the list last week. Memory Records of Bastard Magic Instructor, which, of course, is the spin-off of the Akashic Records of Bastard Magic Instructor. We do not have a license for these light novels, nor do we have a license for the original light novel series. We do have the Akashic Records of Bastard Magic Instructor licensed as a manga by Seven Seas. They'll be releasing the 6th volume in April of 2019. Now, again, this one, of course, about a magic academy and a bunch of students, and, one or two in particular that are looking forward to their magical education and then find out that their favorite teacher is retiring, and that his replacement is a lazy, useless bastard. But, of course, it being what it is, he's probably got all sorts of secrets and is actually quite capable, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I haven't watched the anime that was based on this, nor have I read the manga, but, well, it seems like a pretty obvious setup to me. I don't really know how these spin-offs are different. I kind of get the idea that they are short story volumes detailing events that happen either during the main storyline or maybe even before or after it. I don't know. And I couldn't really find a lot of information that said. So I'm just kind of taking a shot in the dark. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. At number 3, with 8,551 copies sold, Volume 4 of Izure Saikyo no Renkinjutsushi, or Someday Will I Be the Great Alchemist? We have no English license for the light novels. Iruma Takumi, a 40-year-old salaryman, was dragged into a hero summoning just like in a template. What was his fate? The goddess sent him and the heroes to the other world separately. With the goddess's overprotective support, he landed in a different world looking handsome, rejuvenated, and quite different from a Japanese. However, he wanted a slow life while working in the manufacturing trade. That was not permitted by the goddess's special body and abilities. Would Takumi be able to live a peaceful life in a different world? I actually took this, I believe, off of Novel Updates, but wow, it kind of reads like somebody just did a Google Translate. So straight into that. But I mean, it makes sense enough, I guess. So it sounds like he was summoned along with others to all be different heroes, and they were sent to different parts of the world, I guess, to battle different problems, and he was kind of like, meh, I don't really feel like fighting, I'm just gonna take things easy. Which, yeah, I'm pretty sure if a goddess summoned you to be a hero, she'd be pretty angry. So I don't know if this is going to be one of those series that it's like, you're kind of fighting God's will or whatever, or fighting the gods to have the life that you dream of, or I don't know. I have no idea whatsoever. If you are familiar at all with this series, let me know in the comments down below. At number 2, with 22,411 copies sold, Volume 6 of Tondemo Skill de Isekai Horo Meishi, or Regarding the Display of an Outrageous Skill Which Has Incredible Powers. We have no English license for these light novels. Mukoda Tsuyoshi, summoned from modern Japan to a different world of sword and magic. He thought of what kind of a huge adventure was waiting for him, but actually, Mukoda is just a civilian who got caught in a hero summoning. And that Mukoda's base status is shabby compared to the legitimate heroes. There's even 3 of those heroes. On top of that, the king who summoned Mukoda and the rest were suspicious, and Mukoda left the castle by himself, realizing, this is the type that heroes would only be needed for. The only thing that Mukoda could rely on in this world is his unique skill, Net Supermarket. It can only order goods from modern Japan to the different world. It's not for combat, but if I use it properly, I might have no trouble living. Mukoda thought lightly, but actually, he found out that the modern food that he ordered would display ridiculous effects. On top of that, ridiculous guys who were attracted by a different world's food gathered. So, this one's been on the list before, and I've talked about it before. I'm just kind of like, obviously you have a useless skill, but that useless skill is super useful, you know? And I don't know, I kind of like this series because there's a big, like, fluffy wolf monster on the front of almost all the covers. I don't really know where this goes. Like, I don't know whether this is like, I don't know whether this is kind of like I've been killing slimes for 300 years kind of thing, where he really does just kind of try and lead a laid-back life, and just all these weirdos show up on his doorstep wanting to eat his food, and they all just kind of hang out because, you know, good eats. And they probably get pulled into the odd ridiculous kind of thing, or whether it does end up with him going toward the demon lord, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. If you're familiar with this series at all, I'd love to hear more about it in the comments down below. Finally, at number 1, with 44,485 copies sold, volume number 10 of Yokoso Jitsuryoku Shijo Shugi no Kiyoshitsue, or, as we're getting it in English, Classroom of the Elite. I can finally, after a number of volumes appearing on the top 10 over the past year and a half, I can finally say this has been licensed for English release by 7 Seas. And in fact, they have just released volume number 1 digitally, and they are going to be releasing the print edition of volume number 1 on May 7th. So if you want to get it right now, you can digitally. If you want to hold out for the print copy, you still got a little ways to go. I'm really on the fence about this one. I don't know whether I want to read it right now and review it ahead of time, or whether I want to wait and buy it in print. I kind of want to buy it in print, so I might just wait. Kodo Ikusei Senior High School, a leading prestigious school with state-of-the-art facilities where nearly 100% of students go on to university or find employment. The students there have the freedom to wear any hairstyle and bring any personal effects they desire. Kodo Ikusei is a paradise-like school, but the truth is that only the most superior of students receive favorable treatment. The protagonist, Kiyotaka Ayonokuji, is a student of D class, which is where the school dumps its inferior students in order to ridicule them. For a certain reason, Kiyotaka was careless on his entrance examination and was put in D class. After meeting Suzune Horikita and Kikyo Kushida, 2 other students in his class, Kiyotaka's situation begins to change. So this one, of course, been highly sought after for a license. Everybody was quite pleased when it did get licensed last year. They announced it. And like I said, it is finally here. So there was an anime of this one, although I have read in numerous places that the anime did make a number of changes. In fact, apparently like at least 1 or 2 episodes you could basically say were 100% anime original. So pretty much everywhere that I've read, they've said, even if you've watched the anime, just read from the start because it's a very, very different story. Again, I'll be looking forward to checking this one out. I'm just not sure whether that'll be sooner or whether I'll wait for the print release. I'm just not too sure yet. This week I want to say a special thanks to VixLab.com, Patrick Mbahi, Michaela Werner, and Megas, and all the rest of my patrons over on Patreon for their continued support, as well as their suggestions for my reading every single month, and for helping me to continue to buy books and to fund the hosting for the Light Novel podcast so we can get it out to a number of different platforms. So those are your top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan for the week of January 21st to the 27th of 2019. I'll be back soon with another countdown of the top 10 bestsellers. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.